You're on.
Hello, everyone. This is Gino Kubo. Welcome to our Go Indie Now live panel on book reviews. I'd like to introduce myself a little bit real quick here, but I'm going to wait until the end because that's the gentleman thing to do. Today, we have joining our panel, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here who are going to give the best answers they can to all your questions and to my questions. And good evening there, Richard White. And we're going to start first here with a beautiful lady who likes to write very, very interesting things. Anita, go ahead.
I'm Anita Stewart. I write horror, fantasy, poetry. See, there's one of my books. Anyway, and I used to review books on my blog. I don't do that anymore, but I do know how to review. And I'm here to talk about it today.
Thank you very much, Anita, and it's great to have you here. Next, we have Joe, the person with all the tricks. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe Compton. I'm the author of Amongst the Killing, which is a crime thriller, and purveyor of Go Indie Now, which is what we're doing here on this platform. So thank you very much for having me.
Good, good. And then we have Heidi. Heidi is a person who's actually given me a lot of positive feedback on my own work. So go ahead, Heidi.
Hello, everyone. I am Heidi Angel, and I do book reviews on a lot of places. All you have to do is look for An Angel's Life of Bookish Goodness, and you will find me. And I'm also an author, and this is one of my books, Elements of a Broken Mind. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about reviews.
Very, very good. And then a person I've met recently and started talking with recently, George. Go ahead.
George, oh God, that's my real name. You're gonna blow my cover. First off, this is Timothy. He's saying good evening. I'm JD Estrada, Puerto Rican indie author. I write a ton of stuff because I don't like to get bored. That includes poetry, which would truly rhymes. I also do it in Spanish, pensando en metáforas, because I am Puerto Rican. Because some people say, "Oh, I'm Puerto Rican," and you talk Spanish, and they go like, "I don't know Spanish." No, I was born in Puerto Rico, born, bred, and raised in Puerto Rico. Love my island, and I do that. Dark Strands, another poetry collection. Black Tie Affair. If you like Charles Bukowski, this is kind of raunchy. Between the Tides. I do short stories for middle grade children. That's the Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore. I did a bilingual collection called 2020. And this is one of 2 novels in the Human Cycle series. This is Shadow of a Human. Unfortunately, I don't have copies of Only Human because I sold out, which is Happy Problems all the way.
For sure.
Congratulations on selling that out. Good, good, good. And then we have a woman who gets everybody steamy hot. We have Rebecca.
That's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Jonesy. I write erotic romance and branching out into other things. And I also do reviews. I reviewed everyone's books on this panel.
And we all thank you for it. I personally thank you because I've been working hard to try to get people to review my work. I am Gino Kubo. I have videos on VidMe where I review a lot of books, and I have videos on YouTube where I review books, and my blog. I am a romance author. Right there. These are my 2 romance books. I am also a fantasy author. There's my 2 fantasy books. I am branching off into another book that I'm doing with Rebecca that will be coming out later this year.
Dude, you're out in it already?
No, I can. The name saying we're doing something.
Okay.
Then I'm also a screenwriter, so I have a lot of projects that I'm getting out there and trying to get filmed. So please look more from me because I'm trying to do everything at once. All right. And yes, I like to out things early. I like to out things late. I like to out things because outing things is outing things. But of course I don't give any spoilers. My reviews, you will see that I give no spoilers whatsoever. My reviews are vague and enjoyable because I want you to enjoy the works. And that's where I got the idea for this panel discussion on book reviews, because many people don't know how to give reviews. So we're going to start with the first question. what is your overall opinion of reviews on sites like Amazon and Goodreads? Who wants to step into the water?
I shall dive. I shall dive in head first. For indie authors, basically every review means an extra sale. I have noticed that every time someone leaves a review, someone notices for X or Y reason. Either it's the algorithm or they saw that, oh, instead of 12, it has 13 reviews, so maybe now I'll pay attention. And it's a really peculiar thing, and it's a really hard thing to come by. And it's something that I don't like to pressure people, but I do remind, and when I do videos and I talk about the experience of being an indie author, it is part of the struggle, and it's one of the biggest challenges. But there's ways around it, and there's the right way and the wrong way. I don't know. There is a way, which I get reviews, not a ton of them, but I do get reviews. But the wrong way, which you can see like that quick, because BS smells a mile away. It's like, oh my God, I have 50 reviews, and then you see the reviews, and they're like one-liners or generic or copy-paste reviews, and you go like, is that real? And when it gets to that point, if you see a lot of reviews and they have substance, it's great. If you see a lot of reviews and they look like that, you smell snake oil immediately.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I agree with that. I mean, the reviews with substance are far more helpful to both authors and readers too, because I mean, the ones that say, "Oh, I loved it," yeah, that's nice, but why did you love it? This is what I see when I go to the site to buy a book, and I see those reviews. I'm going, okay, why did you love the book? I mean, if someone's not telling me, it's not a useful review, and it's not useful to the authors either. So that's my opinion.
I completely agree with Anita. I'm a big fan of, you don't want to give away the story, but you want to give enough to people so that they know that you actually read the story. And I had an experience with one of my books, The Hunters, where the reviewer said that it was like the Scooby Gang. And I was like, other than the fact that the Scooby Gang is for kids and they're solving mysteries, and mine is a bunch of young adults that are trying to survive the vampire apocalypse, or it's exactly like Scooby-Doo.
Which Scooby Gang did he mean? The Scooby Gang from Scooby-Doo or the Scooby Gang from Buffy?
That's a good point.
Scooby-Doo gang. No, she says Scooby-Doo. Yeah.
Okay, she said Scooby-Doo. Okay.
Yeah, and I know that. Yeah, you could tell from the things that she said that she hadn't read the book. One of the things that I love about reading reviews, not just my own, but reading reviews for books that I'm looking at reading, is that you actually learn, if it's done well, as much about the reviewer as you do about the review or about the book. Because especially if it's one that you've read, if I get sent a book review or a book to review from an author, I don't read the reviews that are already up before I do it. I will read it if I'm going to buy a book, but unless it's a super hype book, and I should have read the reviews for Girl on the Train, but we won't get into that today. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's interesting because you learn more about the people that are reviewing than you do necessarily about the book. And I know a lot of indie authors get really upset when they get 1-star reviews because there's LGBTQ issues, or 1-star review because it promotes whatever thing that person doesn't agree with. But I'm like, 1-star reviews don't hurt sales. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Unless the 1-star review is saying the grammar was horrible, the story was impossible to untangle, I don't even know what happened. If they're complaining about elements that other people will like, that makes the other people go, oh, I want to read that book, and I'm going to give them better stars to make up for the bad stars that they got. So, don't sweat the stars. Read the reviews. If you can get something out of it, get that out of it. And if you can't, just move on.
Yeah, nothing's worse than silence for an author. That's the worst.
Good, very good. Everyone got their say in it. I personally.
One question. Do you guys notice a difference between reviews, or how do you treat reviews on Amazon and Goodreads?
Ooh, that's a good follow-up.
Because for me, it's weird, and I think this is actually shifting right now. I think I'm always most brutally honest on Goodreads, and then I'm a bit kinder on Amazon. It's, you know, I've known to give 4 stars to something on Goodreads and 5 stars to something on Amazon, because I know it's a numbers game, and I know it's a sale game. I get that. But to me, in terms of, if you want like my most honest opinion in terms of star rating, and I very rarely edit what I put on Amazon versus Goodreads. Sometimes I do take off or put something else. But honestly, the star rating, I'm a lot kinder on Amazon, because I don't take reviews on Amazon as serious as I do on Goodreads. Honestly, for some reason, that's just how I am.
That's funny. I actually do it just the opposite, because a lot of people on Goodreads, they seem to just pop in. They're like, oh, I saw this on a bookshelf. I'm going to take a look at it. No, 1 star. Move on.
Yeah, and I also, that's why
the only 1-star review I have is on Goodreads, and it says, boring. And it's like, you obviously did not pick up the book. So I don't even care, and neither does anyone else.
No, but that's why I say I've seen a shift.
Let me intercede here with a question from Christy, who asked the question, what happens, or has it happened to you, where someone has promised to give you a review but hasn't?
Yes.
And let me just run with this, because as a blogger, I just gotta say, do not email me every 3 days asking me when you're gonna get your review, unless you're part of a tour, or unless it's an arc. You go in the pile and you get reviewed when I'm in the mood to read your book. And the reason that I do that is because you're more likely to get a better review, especially because I read across multiple genres. You're more likely to get a better review when I want to read your book than you are if you're hounding me every other day asking for a review. So fortunately, I haven't had that happen recently. But when I send out mine for review, I will send a follow-up email a week after saying, hey, I just wanted to make sure that you got the book and that everything was okay. I look forward to seeing your review. And then if it's for a tour, I'll email them 3 days before their slot. But if it's not part of a tour, I don't even bother following up. I just keep an eye out for it.
All right. Anyone else?
I have so far, actually, everyone who has said they would read and review my books, I don't actually think any of them have. I know they've read them.
I did.
Well, that's right. You're the only one. Yeah. You left reviews. I mean, like, even my friends haven't left reviews. They've read them.
They might be just shy about leaving a review on that type of book.
Reviews, yeah, definitely the worst.
All right, let's move on to the next question. This got answered a little bit earlier as you were given the reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. But do reviews affect your choice in books? Like, when you actually read a review, does it affect the book that you're going to read?
Oh, definitely.
Or let me elaborate the question, because this might be like whether you choose to buy it or not. That's not what the question means. The question that I'm trying to ask here is, let's say you read the reviews, you picked up a book, the reviews were all positive. Do you enter it reading it's going to be a positive read, or do you enter it reading that it's going to be normal?
Yeah, I do, because if I read the reviews and the reviews tell me that, yes, there are things in this book I'm going to be interested in. So I go into the book expecting certain things. And I mean, the blurb too and the cover give you the same sort of thing. You go into a book expecting certain things. And the reviews are part of that, I think. At least for me, they are. So yeah, it does influence how you go into reading a book. I mean, the book itself may change your mind. And you may say, oh, those reviewers were crazy. I don't like the book, or the book was better than the reviews even. So, I mean, but yeah, reading the reviews, you do get influenced, I think.
I've read reviews and interviews. Oh wait, and go Heidi. I'm not gonna interrupt you. And you have a slight delay, so you have to say shut up.
No, go ahead, JD. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll be quick. I've seen reviews that are like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is like the best book ever. Like, you gotta read this, you gotta read this. And then I see interviews, I'm like pumped up, and then I go into the book and first chapter in, and I'm like, because I like to finish anything that I start. And it's getting to a point where I'm gonna start DNFing like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I totally understand JD's frustration. I actually had a very unpleasant experience with a traditionally published novel this year. And since then, I've stopped reading reviews or listening to hype about books before I review them. Because Girl on the Train, I hate anybody who likes that book. I don't even want to talk to you.
Wait, isn't that a movie?
It's a movie now, too. But it was a book first. And
That's me in 50 Shades of Grey.
go to my website and search Girl on the Train if you really want to know the rage and why the rage. But a lot of the rage had to do with the hype that had built up around it. And I was expecting this incredible book that was like totally shocking. And I thought I had figured out, because I'm one of those people that I shouldn't read mysteries because I always want to figure it out. And I usually do figure it out. And I'm usually right. And then I'm disappointed. And I thought I had figured out two options for the book. And one of them was going to be absolutely amazing. And if it had been what I thought it should have been, I would have given it 5 stars. But instead, it was exactly what I thought. They couldn't be possibly stupid enough to make it that, because it's so freaking obvious. And I was so angry. But I had a lot of other issues with it.
Well, see, here's the thing that I just read a book that a traditionally published book that was given to me, and the joy of it was that the protagonist himself didn't know the twist, and I found joy in that. Joe,
I don't read reviews. I stopped doing that a long time ago. Blurbs and book covers and the first 5 pages is how you hook me. I'll actually physically pick up the book, because I don't know if people really know this or not, but you can actually click on the book in Amazon and it gives you the first 5 pages. So when you click on it,
that's not currently working. They broke it again.
Oh, well, it's always worked for me. Maybe sometimes it goes down, but that is always how I get into a book, because you know what? My opinion's my own opinion. I don't need to be told my opinion. I don't need to be led by my opinion. I know what my opinion is going to be when I read it, so I'm going to read it anyway. So the reviews really don't mean that much to me in terms of if I'm going to read the book. In terms of reviews for my book, I appreciate anybody who leaves a review, and I take all that in, and those I read. But obviously I didn't have any reviews to read before, I put out the book. But, for me, that's the way, that's how I judge it, because I come from a filmmaking background to a certain extent, and they always teach you never to listen to what other people say. Just make sure the first 10 pages are really great. I think that's how I approach a book. If you catch me in the first 5 pages, likely it is I'll finish it.
That's basically how I do it. I've always ignored reviews. I mean, a review is someone's opinion. And let's face it, there are people out there whose opinions are so wrong, they don't like coffee. So, I mean, how can you trust those things? How can you trust them?
Yeah, well, I find that the bad reviews, like the reviews you can trust, just as informative as the ones you can. But I seem to be in the minority. But
no, I totally agree with you, Anita. When I'm not reviewing a book on the blog, or when I'm not buying a book to review on the blog, I should say, when I'm just buying for my own pleasure, I like to look at the negative reviews as well as the positive reviews.
Yeah, I always check the negative first before the positive, because you find a lot more information in the negative reviews than you do in the positive ones.
I still read the reviews. I just give them as much weight as I would give any stranger's opinion, because that's what it is.
And
Yeah,
So-
I get that.
I should clarify too. I do read the reviews, but after the fact, after I've already written mine, because I like to see what other people thought about it. But as far as the question was, does it influence me to read the book? And that is where it doesn't. I don't get influenced by reviews to read the book. The book sells me, not the person talking about it.
No, it's the same as with movies. When I saw The Fountain and I loved it, although I was depressed for about 18 to 22 hours after watching the movie.
Oh yeah.
But I loved it, and I thought that the soundtrack was amazing and that there's a lot to take from it. And if you check on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like 30-something percent Rotten. And I'm like,
Tomatoes towards the end of this, because I want to bring that up later on, because those are Metacritics, and Metacritics, I think a lot of them are paid for critics. You can see the reason, because some movies got rave reviews when they're complete not worthy. Anyways, all of you have answered in your own way. The next question, which is has a review ever stopped you from buying a book? And I think all your answers would be no, right?
Mine actually would be yes.
Yeah, reviews have stopped me from buying books as well.
Please elaborate.
Well, I mean, like I said, I read the critical
What kind of
reviews.
review would stop you?
Well, if a review mentions something that I didn't like, or it was like sometimes you'll read a blurb and you can't tell really what the book is, the genre sometimes, and or if it's leaning towards YA, and sometimes the review you can tell that the characters there's more emphasis on the love match instead of the fantasy. Now that might influence me if I'm not in the mood to read a romantic type novel at that time, as to not buy it. I mean, I might maybe buy it later or put it on a wish list, but like that, I mean, because you can tell sometimes in the review if there's something in the book you're not going to like. Like if someone says, well, he did this and this with the character, right? And that's a pet peeve of mine, say, that I just can't stand it when people do that in the book or whatever it is. I mean, I might say, okay, I don't want to read that. So it could stop me from buying the book. Depends on what it is and
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines. I mean, if a review tells me that there's something in the book that I absolutely do not like reading about, I just won't get it. And especially if there's a review or more than one review saying bad editing, why are there spelling errors in this book, things like that, done.
oh yeah.
All I need is one review that says that, and I'm flipping on.
Let's get to the technical aspects of a review then. How long should a review be, in your opinion? And number 5, how detailed should it be as well?
I think it depends on who's writing it.
Yeah.
If it's just your average person that's writing a review after they read a book, all it has to be is, I really liked this. Here's why I really didn't. Here's why. If you're a blogger, it should be more.
Well, you have Rebecca's review of boring, so you know like things like that. So Amazon has a word count for the reviews, a minimum. So how long?
Well, I say a good review should be 1 to 3 paragraphs. And like Heidi said, like if you're just your average reader, I mean, 1 paragraph is fine. Just a little short paragraph. But anyway, but if you're doing a more detailed review, it should be longer, like 3 paragraphs or so, and you should have some like what works and what doesn't work in the book, in your opinion, for a good review.
Yeah, at least explain why you like it or why you dislike it. One of those, both of those, 3, 5 sentences. That's good enough.
Details.
I think the
How
length.
detailed?
Oh, I was going to say, I think the length of the review also depends on the length of the book. I've had a lot of books lately that are novellas, And it's really hard to write 3 to 5 paragraphs on a novella. So those I give a little less slack on, so a little more slack on.
I agree. If I'd had to give like a range of word counts, I'd say a decent review would be 100 to 500 words. That could vary 1 paragraph to 3 paragraphs or a bit more. And obviously it depends on the complexity of the book. I always leave a review after I read a book. For some poetry collections, man, you can sum it up in a paragraph. That's all you need to sell it, or to say how you felt about it. I recently read American Gods. I needed a lot more space to explain my thoughts on that book, just because it's so complicated and there's so many aspects to it.
What about the details? How detailed should you be in your review?
No spoilers. You can talk about the plot, but don't repeat the synopsis. Some people go. It's like they click copy, they click paste, and then they paraphrase, and it's like, yay, you just told me something that I didn't need to know. In terms of detail, it also comes with the approach to a review. At least I approach a review, apart from offering my opinion, there is that element of wanting to either entertain someone apart from inform them. You have to enjoy writing the review. So when you get like a 3-star review, you have to fight against it not being boring. But if it's a 5-star, you have a lot of great stuff to say. And if it's a 1-star or a 2-star, you're going to have at least some snarky comments, but don't be mean about it, because people are also mean about it. A 2-star book that I read last year, really didn't like it, felt that I got duped, but I didn't throw the person under the bus because I'm not a dick. Some people are like, oh, I'm so cool because I'm a reviewer, and look at me, I'm a badass. I'm a badass behind a keyboard and a monitor. It's like, be a bit more mature and offer the information that you need. In terms of details, you can explore plot, you can explore characters, but anything that sells it without spoiling it, I think that's the main thing. If you see a movie trailer, I think you should let yourself go by movie trailers. Some are like 4 minutes long. It's like, dude, you gave me too much. Give me enough to either convince me of your point to either read it or not read it.
Joe has a follow-up.
Yeah, I want to ask the panel follow-up to offshoot of this question, which is, if they left you a 1-sentence review but then emailed you their thoughts about the book and were very detailed and gave you an email or sent you a direct message, would you feel differently about the review they left?
Good question.
That unless I have a relationship with the author, I'm not going to email them, because that's not my place, and they can take from the review what they want. As a blogger, I can say that when I had an author email me about a review earlier this year, some of you saw the fun that ensued. I was more than a little bit miffed. She challenged my intelligence, which clearly she didn't know me. And she insulted me and she bullied me, and I was going to let it go at that, but then she kept pushing it. And I don't ever want to come across that way to an author as me saying, I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you. Or worse, have them think that I'm trying to sell them my services, because I do offer editing services. So I wouldn't email them unless I knew them personally.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel if someone emailed me after leaving a single sentence. It's like, if what you have to say is either so personal, yeah, I guess just so personal that you can't say it on a public forum and you're not someone I know, I don't want you contacting me like that. It seems a little weird.
Yeah.
And desperate.
It happens to me all the time.
I'm not real comfortable with people I don't know contacting me, but I think I'd be polite. It would depend on what they actually said in the email and what their review was. I mean, if they were being nasty, they'd get it back in spades. But if they just wanted to talk about the book, you know, I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
Well,
I think it probably has a lot to do with the genres we're writing, though. Because I gotta admit, I mean, I would totally hit up a fantasy or a sci-fi author.
Hold up. We have a question here that came in from our viewers, and this all brings all this together here. So you're talking about getting feedback from the reviews here. From A.L. Mengel here, what are your opinions of the weight of an in-depth analytical reviews, and would you have someone analyze your one or more of your titles in depth? So getting the feedback from the author or giving the feedback to the author, but what's the weight of a full analytical review?
I think
would have to look that person up.
True. I like to have one like that, but I don't think anyone would like to have like 10 like those, because like reviews, it's going to be conflicting, and it would be interesting. It's not that you're gonna think that their opinion is oh my God, it's canon, but it would be interesting for someone to dedicate that much time to a review. That said, I have had people that offer really in-depth reviews, unsolicited, which is fantastic. But some people want to come off as smart and, oh my God, I can dissect and get to the root of it all. And you're always running the risk of being like that teacher in high school that overanalyzed a poem and told you what it meant when you got a completely different meaning, and you're like, you don't know anything, and they're like, but I'm the teacher.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be.
I have a different angle for this.
Pay for a deep analytical review from me. So.
All right. After Joe's comment here, we're gonna be switching gears and going into points of view from the author's point of view. So go ahead, Joe.
Well, from a publicity standpoint, I think it's an awesome thing to have an analytical review, because you have sentences you can grab from that you can use to publicize your book. So the more meat to give you, I mean, if you put, oh, I like this book in your promo post, that's kind of silly. But if they go, this deep darkened monster, you know, it scared the life out of me and I was shaking in my boots, those are great things to grab for promo posts. And for me personally, who does a lot of interviews for authors and you know, in my new releases segment, I like to post those meaty reviews, you know, at least one line from them to kind of help out what people are observing. So, you know, with that person. So I think those are really nice in that perspective.
Well, I think there's a difference, Joe, from what you're talking about and from an analytical review. Yeah, those are great. That's where you go on blog tours and you message people like me, hi, and ask for a review, or like Jen, and you get those meaty reviews with those great little catch lines. But with an analytical review, you're looking at more of like what you would see at the beginning of one of the classic books you had to read in high school. And like Kirkus Review does them, and they charge authors $300 for them. And I've looked at some of the ones that they had, and I was like, there's nothing in there that really, it just feels like JD said, very teachery.
Right. I've been trying to get reviews for my book. For many of my books, I've been trying to get reviews now going on 2 years, and I know that my books are on some reading lists and to be read lists, and they're sitting in the stacks, and I'm waiting patiently for them as well. I've actually bought programs to help you get your book out there, to get more reviews, spending $50 here and there. I spent, I think, $150 on getting not just on a blog tour, but one that actually promised to get reviews for your book. Came with high feedback from all the authors on it, and is the standard for the industry. So when I contacted them directly, they said, oh no, it'll take 3 months for the reviews to come in. I have yet to see any reviews from them at all. Zero. So the next question
How long ago was
is,
it?
this was a year ago.
Jesus.
And yeah, and I know. And I'm sitting there going like, yeah, I'm turned off from anybody that says, here's a company, pay this money and they'll get you some reviews. I'm completely turned off from that. So now, as an author, what is your technique on getting reviews for your work? Share.
Praying. Yes, deep meditation and prayer, and hopefully stabs in the dark sometimes. Because
It's a good thing to do when you're afraid of the dark. Stab it.
Yeah, well, I write about dark and stabbing, so
Definitely works for you.
yeah,
I cast a wide net. That's what I do.
exactly. You cast a wide net everywhere.
KU gets you no reviews. So cast a wide net. Be on everything that you could possibly get a review on.
Yeah, play the percentages.
Yep.
Okay, I have a little different perspective. I have a background in marketing, and so I do book review tours, and I build my own. I don't hire a company, and I'm so sorry that happened to you, Jen. That's horrible. I actually just became the executive publishing director for Our Right Side, and as part of that, we have decided to create a tutorial based on the masterclass that I did last year to teach authors how to build their own virtual book tours so that they don't get scammed by all these fly-by-night companies. And that'll be available in January. But in the meantime, it's really not that hard. You just go and find all of the bloggers that are in your genre, and you email them asking them for a review from this point to this point. Usually I do at least 3 weeks before the book releases through 3 weeks after the book releases. And then I plan 1 or 2 tours throughout the year to revitalize it, usually around a theme. And that's how you get the book reviewers to commit to a timeline. And because you're sharing their review with the whole tour, they're more likely to get on board because they're more likely to get new audiences from that. So it's actually the best way to get reviews and the easiest way. And if you do it yourself, it just costs time.
We have a question from Christy Stratos here. Do any of you have Facebook groups for people who are interested in reviewing your books? From my point of view, every review group that I've been in has been there, review my book, review my book, review my book, and nobody wants to review your book. It's not my genre, it's not my genre, it's not my genre. You get hearing back. What about you guys?
I've left all those groups.
Yeah, I don't do the Facebook review much. I mean, I've got a few people who will review my books when they come out, some dedicated reviewers. So, I mean, I stick with them, and then I do a lot of review searches over on Goodreads as well, because there's a lot of review groups over there.
I made a very small private group of authors where we can read and review other people's books. If you need a review, offer to hand it out for free to the other authors in there. They read it, they review it. It's working out pretty good so far.
I've offered my book to a couple of people. That was for a group of people, one reading group. That wasn't the best decision because it's the typical group dynamic. One person didn't like it. They said their opinion, and they skewed everyone towards that direction. And the thing is that if you read the reviews, they all say the same thing, and I go like, I wouldn't have minded getting like a 3-star review, a 2-star review, a 1-star review with different things. But when you see the same thing, you go like, nah. But, I got some reviews, and that kind of worked. Another thing that I've done is that actually all my books now include this page, which is a final request. Firstly, my kindest thanks to you for reading my work. It means a lot, and if it's not too much trouble, I would wish to ask one final request, a favor, if you will. And then the entire page is basically almost begging for a review and saying it's not easy. And it would mean the world. You don't have to do it. Thank you for buying the book. I know it's an extra chore. You didn't buy a book and then the right to review, but it would help, it would help out, because definitely it's something that we struggle with. And I hate going like, oh, please review my book. And I hate doing that thing. And I hate pandering to people, and I hate begging for reviews. I do try to review everything that I read, and I try to exchange reviews, not for the sake of quid pro quo, but mutual support, which I think is, people say, oh, it's the same. And I'm like, no, it's not the same. Because I've been in the situation with people that I don't like, and whose work that I read the first 3 pages and I go like, ugh. And then they insist like, oh yeah, read me. I'm going to leave you a review. And you go like, I'm good. The good thing about the people that I interact with, either here on the right side or anywhere, and the group of authors that bit by bit, I tackle all of your books. Eventually, I do like to mix it up. I don't like to always read indie. I don't like to always read sci-fi. My TBR it's pretty mood based, but I will get to it eventually. And right now, I am about to go back to the Kindle, because I taken like a Kindle sabbatical, and things that most of my indie books are there. But the whole review for a review, there is that duality. One thing is to support, and the other thing is, again, quid pro quo, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I'll never do that. And I've been trying. Some people have tried to coerce me into that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to interact with you.
Well, let's skip one question here and go straight to the next one here, which is, are you willing to help garner reviews for friends or other authors? Like, say you read a book, you like it, you give a review. Are you willing to get other people to
that in my life? Yes, I do it a lot.
I don't want to keep talking my head off, but I'll be brief. To all my friends and all the people that I interact with, I want to support them, and I want to read them and review them, because they are friends. They're not just people who have books and we like kind of interact. And people that I read one book and I really like, I will always read the rest of their work. And I try to let my actions speak for me. When I see that someone is struggling to get reviews, or they're in a genre that itself struggles to get reviews, I'm gonna up the ante, and I'm gonna try to offer more support and give them more visibility. Again, it's not out of pity or anything. It's also because I see crap books that get so much hype and get covered ad nauseum on BookTube and other media, and you go like, why can't this same type of coverage happen to an indie book? What? Because they don't have the marketing? Because you're not going to be part of the clique? Screw that. If it's a good book and it's a good person, which is the combination that I find often with this group of people, trust me, I'm going to bust my ass to try to get them some exposure. And I'll one up that. The last 2 giveaways that I've done, I've also gifted books from people that I know I interact with, because I want to get their books to other people. And it's going to continue to do that, because, again, I like traditional books, but if you're on BookTube and you see BookTube videos, you're going to see some books that are covered to the point that you go like, really? Is the book that great, or do you want to be part of the clique? And I get it, you want to be part of the conversation, but really, is it worth it? Here's something else that you can read, and if it's something I love, trust me, I'm gonna dive head first and go like, this is awesome. You should read this. This is on my top 10 list. You should read this. Why should you read this? Because I read Neil Gaiman and I love this, but I also read this by Anais Chadchenko, and by Christy Stratus, and by Jason Griesites, and by Joe Compton, and by all these people whom I also have the honor of calling my friends, and it's really worth your time.
Rebecca? That's basically what I do. I'm not gonna shop around to get other people reviews, but what I will say is I read this book. It was freaking amazing. You need to read it. I mean, this Clear Angel, you gotta read about this chick. Okay? It's amazing. Now, don't forget, authors live by their reviews. And I say that all the time because it's the truth. Authors live by their reviews. You know, I tell people in the streets, I tell my family, I tell my friends. Authors live by reviews. Please leave a review. I don't care who you're reading. Just leave a review.
Yeah, I
And
do
kinda leave it
random
at that.
recommendations of books all the time, so hopefully you get some reviews.
I'm kind of weird because I spend more time promoting everybody else's books and forget to promote my own. I have my whole online persona is based around an angel's life of bookish goodness. I have a Facebook page where I share other people's books, their taglines, things that catch my interest, that I think would be an interest to my readers. I also do my book review on my website, and back in June, I started a Patreon that is geared around sharing my love of the books, and I give away books to my patrons. And they're not my books, they're other people's books. Like last month, I gave away Joshua Robertson's Melcorca. I gave away Eric Ellos's, can't think of the name right now, but it's really cool. It was my first lit RPG book, Conquest, that's what it was. And you know, I try to give away 3 or 4 books a month. The more patrons I have, the more books I can give away. I also started a thing last year where I don't take free books from authors. I buy them. And then on my BookTube page, I do book unboxings of books that I've gotten. I do reviews, and then I do kind of a more in-depth discussion of the genres. And almost all of those books are not the ones that are typically seen on BookTube. They're indie book authors. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place there.
All right, I'm gonna make everyone upset now because there's something that I do that I know a lot of you don't do. Sometimes I choose not to give a review. The book is so horribly written that I choose not to give a review. The reason is because I don't like to be the nail in the coffin for an author. Is because the way that I write my books sometimes, you'll find this especially with my book Love, is add certain mistakes because that's the protagonist's way of speaking and that's the protagonist's way of writing. So those are in there intentionally, which makes my work a little bit difficult to read for some people until they figure out that's the protagonist being that way. That being said, when do you, if you do, choose not to give a review?
I actually have been doing it fairly often recently. I've been reading a lot of indie books, and I've had, it's like we were talking about earlier, I will actually email the author instead and say, I can't help myself. I red-penned your manuscript here, and this could be an excellent book, but all of your punctuation is outside of your quotes. You know, things like that. Your formatting's completely jacked up. It's really hard to read. I want to leave a good review, but you missed this plot hole and that plot hole. So I'll hand it back to them and ask them to. I will tell them, if you get back to me and show me that you fix these, I will leave a good review. And it's actually happened twice. Like, the author actually went in, cleaned up their work, republished it, sent me a new copy, and I left a good review. But for the ones who haven't fixed it up, I'm not going to leave a review because it would be horrible.
Regardless, I do want to get the review out of my system and not let it simmer and linger and fester in my brain. And what I sometimes do, if it's bad and I have any type of way to contact the author, I send them the review and I say, are you cool with this? And I don't do that often. I have done it on occasion. And they've said, well, that's your opinion, and I completely respect that. And I actually modify that just because that response, I go, okay, at least you're mature to take a bad review. Because some people, you know, bad reviews happen. Some people, you know, no one's a $20 bill or a $50 bill or a $100 bill, and no one's going to adore you completely. And some people get so butthurt over a bad review that it's like, dude, you know, I can get, you know, we're all human and we can take it hard, but lashing out at someone who left a negative review, that is as dumb as a response as it gets, because it shows that you're really not built for this. You really should stop doing it, get another job, you know, get a 9 to 5 right on the side, keep it in you know, somewhere hidden so that no one at all will ever have the opportunity to say something bad about it.
Yep,
The left
we're
side of the
all
aisle
only
is-
human.
The left side of the aisle is a bit quiet here. Joe, Anita?
Well, actually, I have not had too many problems with leaving bad reviews, because most of the books I have reviewed I've liked, because I'm picky about the books I do review. But I did once leave a very bad review for an author, but that was a public service because the book was that bad. That book needed to have a warning label on it for readers: do not read it. It was just a jumbled mess of horror. And not the good kind. But
Actually,
that's about the only. But that's about the only time I've really been mean in a review. That was just. It was horrible.
I just
Actually,
think about. Oh, sorry.
She just reminded me, I have in fact actually left some very nasty reviews, but they were all for traditionally published books, like 50 Shades of Grey.
I just think about.
Just so you know, 50 Shades was not traditionally published. I'm just saying.
Not originally,
Yeah,
but it is
was
now,
horrible, I agree.
and that editor still needs to be slapped in the face.
Like published. It was just traditionally distributed.
Please let Joe speak his mind. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say I kind of go by the adage of you know, what comes around goes around, and kind of if you're going to be spewing bad reviews as people and you're going to be negative and spit fire, you better be able to stand there and take fire, because that's what's going to happen. And I kind of always try. I've always done this with every review I've ever left. I try to find one good thing to say before I say anything negative, and I tailor a lot of my negativity toward more of, you know, I'm more careful about writing negative reviews than I am about positive ones. I choose my words carefully, because I think that there's a constructive way to tell somebody, you know, why you think the way you do or you feel the way you do, and I would appreciate that back to me as much as I would appreciate giving that to somebody. So I always am careful of that, and like I said, I always try to find one positive thing to say first, and that's what I will lead every review I do with, no matter if it's good or bad.
But I think we're all allowed at least one nasty review, just to get it out of their system. Like that scab you just got to pick. I don't know for you guys. For me, I can mention it because it was traditionally published, and I think that it's just. I got recommended this book so often in so many different contexts. Borders, Amazon, even on Google Ads. And it was Wormwood by G.P. Taylor. And it's 239 pages. And, you know, that and Chinese water torture, yeah, pretty similar.
I like how you said that. You know, most people are like, I read a book, it's 239 pages. You're like, it's 239 pages.
No, but
239 pages for Sword of Shannara is amazing. Not all books are Sword of Shannara, though.
But
No,
239 pages of, you know, water torture.
It's awful. You know, try to imagine for it, I took like 3 months to read it. I was like, I read 3 pages and I was like, oh God, am I going to finish this? And then I was super stubborn about it, and I finished it, and everything was just weak. And the payout and the resolution, it's like try to imagine a poop sundae with like a poop cherry, and it was just a bunch of poop. And I was just offended that Amazon and Borders and everyone recommended the book. So I might have been bitter because of that. And I also, put some coin into it. I'm like, well, I've gotten a lot of this. A lot of recommendations of this book, and no.
Interesting. Everyone's giving really interesting points here.
Sorry, just real quick.
No, go ahead.
I don't not give reviews. I rarely give bad reviews, but it's not because I'm trying to be nice, and I really don't judge indie books different than I judge regular books. But I try to write my review from the perspective of a reader, not from the perspective of an author. And I found that that's helped me a lot. If the writing is so bad that I can't enjoy it as a reader, then I will say something about it. If it's just my editor brain going, oh my God, that's the wrong word. Oh my God, that's the wrong word. I'll mention it, but it won't affect the review. Especially if the story's good, but that's just.
Well, I think we're gonna be finishing up pretty soon here, and I want to finish up with something that I skipped over earlier, and this is something that I would like to end on a positive note. What are your ways of dealing with negative reviews on your work? How do you handle it?
I brush it off. I don't care.
I take what value can be taken from it, and then I thank them for their honest opinion, and I leave it at that.
Voodoo dolls, chocolate, and wine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Voodoo dolls, chocolate, and wine.
No, bad reviews happen. The thing is that when I did get a 1-star review for the Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore. When you read the review, you go like, that's not a 1-star review. And that brought another challenge. Not only did I get a 1-star review, I got a 1-star review that I understood that it could have been 2 stars or 3 stars or who knows what. And that group of people, which is the people that I sent copies of that book because I'm really fond of that project and I want more people to read it. It's something that I write short stories with the intention that by the end people smile, and no one got the concept, and that's my bad. And that's how I deal with it, because I sent the book. They gave me 3 3-star reviews and 1 1-star review, and another person didn't review because they probably didn't like it either. But no one got the concept. They were like, oh, I didn't see the relationship between one chapter and another. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I got to remedy that. I could say, that's my attitude. You read the review, you read what people have to say, and you say, okay, is there something that I have to fix, or is it something that it was just the wrong target? Because if it's someone that is not into the genre, or offers superfluous reviews, then okay, just brush it off. If it's something with substance, have a notebook handy, take notes, and say, okay, I'll do better next time. Because if not, you're not going to improve. And again, a lot of people can't handle a 1 or 2-star review, or even a 3-star review. It's like, oh my God, why did I get a 3-star review? Because you're not Hemingway. I don't know. You have to grow. You have to get better, and that's not a bad thing.
Very good, very good. For me, I've received horrible reviews, and yeah, the way I handled it is basically I'm like Rebecca, I brush it off. Sorry, my son came into the room. So I brush it off and just go on to the next one. I'm actually more fond of the middle of the range reviews. The 5-star reviews are wonderful. Yes, thank you very much. But the middle range ones actually tell me more about how to fix my book, I think. I would like to thank everyone who came here today for this great panel discussion. I think we covered a lot of ground. I think we answered a lot of questions here. And thank you to all our viewers. We're going to go through and as we're ending here, I'm going to have each of the panelists mention their websites or their links to where they can be found. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience, everyone. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, Anita.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And I had a great time. And yeah, my website is Welcome to Avalon. So you can Google that because I've got a weird spelling on the link, so I'm not going to spell it. And I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, and I just joined Instagram. So I'm still trying to figure out how to use that, but
Joe?
Well, I have to say, Anita on Instagram is going to be very, very interesting. So I can't wait to see that. That's going to be awesome. I'm Joe Compton. You can find me right here on this channel. This is my channel, Go Indie Now, and my book is out there. It's called Amongst the Killing, and friend me on Facebook, Joe Compton. Should be one of 5 million that come up. You'll have to figure out which one I am. And other than that, yeah, come and see me. Come and talk to me. Leave comments, like, share, everything you do. Thanks, everybody.
Good. Heidi.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Heidi Angel, and you can find me everywhere, but more importantly at HeidiAngel.com. There's a page that says connect. I have a small addiction to social media, so follow me on the one you like most.
JD.
I'm JD Estrada, writer. If you want my books, check on Amazon. That's the easiest way. There's other websites that other people use. Man, I can't be hassled with that. Look for JD Estrada, writer on pretty much everything except Tumblr because I don't tumble, and Snapchat because I don't snap. I'm pretty active everywhere. I try to do goofy and kooky stuff. I will not force feed you my books. If you want to read, I will always offer the links. And I will try to make you laugh at least 4 times in any given week.
Good. Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca Jonesy at Blogspot. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. It's REBEKAH, by the way. And thanks, everyone. Oh, and if you go to my blog, you can see the reviews for everybody else's books.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, please check out everyone's web pages and their blogs and their social connections. It's wonderful to have them here. My name is Gino Kubo. You can find me on my website, ginokubo.com. That's JINOKUBO.com. Find me on VidMe as well under Gino Kubo, and here on Go Indie Now and on my own YouTube channel. Also, if you can, check out The Line on Indiegogo and come help support a short film being made. I would really appreciate it. I think if you check us all out, you're going to find something you like. Everyone, please have a good day. Thank you very much.
It's always time to go indie now.